What's up you guys, All here, and I know it's been a while since I released a video. I've been in my last month of undergrad, and as you can imagine, it's gotten pretty busy. And as this is kind of my last week as a chem major, I wanted to do some reflection on what it's been like to go through the major, and maybe my life advice, tips and tricks, and where I'm at with this chem major. And maybe you guys can kind of glean some info off of it, maybe prepare yourselves mentally for what is to come. And so with that, I think the first thing I really want to delve into is the amount of work, and I'm sure a lot of you can imagine the chemistry major is a lot of work. And I'll be honest with you, it gets progressively higher of a workload the more you go into the major. Of course, you learn to manage your time better and you kind of have more stuff to build off of, but each subsequent class is harder than the next. Your Gen Chem is easier than your Orgo, and your Orgo is easier than your P-Chem, and it kind of just builds up. So there is that little warning that I can give to you all, and one thing is chemistry is super cumulative, especially depending on the class. Stuff like Orgo and P-Chem can get really cumulative, so you really have to focus a lot. And you have to constantly be studying and constantly taking notes, and you can't really miss a beat with it, otherwise you'll be playing catch up for the rest of the semester. So one thing to learn is to really manage your time, and burnout is kind of a real issue, especially in the chem major, because you're going to be studying a lot, and so that means it's really important not to just dedicate yourself to only studying. Find some good clubs and hobbies and all that you can use to escape the constant academics, because if you don't, you're going to burn out halfway through college and there's still going to be 2 years left, and so you really got to focus on kind of keeping yourself healthy, keeping your pace up, because it is not a sprint, it is a marathon. The second kind of big reflection is in the chem major, you're going to be taking some physics and calculus classes as prereqs, and these classes are going to be pretty irrelevant for your first 2 years as a chem major, and you're going to be wondering why you had to take those classes. You should really pay attention, especially in those calculus classes, and if you can, and it's not already required, take like multivariable calc, because those will be really important once you get to your P-Chem classes, because physical chemistry is basically a math/physics class in disguise, and you're going to be doing a lot of derivations, a lot of calculus, and so you want to be really set on that so you can be learning the actual chem material and theory and not trying to learn that and the math at the same time, because learning 2 classes at the same time is going to make your life miserable. Now, after those basic academic stuff is kind of the extracurricular, but that is doing research stuff and actually working in a lab. This I've learned so much about actually doing wet chemistry, because to be honest, the setup labs where you have like worksheets and write lab reports and all that you take as classes are really pathetic, and so you learn a lot more being in an actual research lab, watching how research is done. You get to learn way cooler techniques and way cooler theory that you wouldn't learn in a normal chemistry class, so I really recommend getting into research as quickly as possible. A lot of people think they can't. They think they're a freshman, they don't know any chemistry, but that's fine, because most of the stuff you do in lab is super specific to that lab, and they'll have to teach you everything anyway. So just go ahead and find a cool lab to get into with a professor and try and get into actual research as soon as possible. I have a couple videos on that. If you're interested, you can go find those. Now, getting into more post-graduation upperclassmen stuff is the job market. You shouldn't expect a crazy salary like with those comp-sci majors and all that are 6 figures right out of school. The chemistry major is a hard science, and most of the hard sciences don't pay super great as an intro job. Of course, you build up to that after a few years, or if you go get a graduate degree, you can start off a bit higher. But really, depending on where you are in the country, you're probably going to start off in a job like 40 to 50,000 as opposed to up near 6 figures, or even in the higher half of 5 figures. I'm actually still in the job market looking for stuff, I will, of course, make a video and update you about the whole process it's been to find a job and write applications, etc. once I do, so you can look forward to that. But for now, especially if you have any location dependencies and all, you're not in a place that has a lot of jobs. Luckily, I'm relatively okay in the area I'm in, but depending on where you are, it can be really tough. And a lot of the jobs around are base analytical, lab science, super boring, not actual chemistry jobs, so you gotta look out for that. Of course, there are a lot of different pathways to take, but you gotta keep that in mind. You're in this because you love science and you love chemistry, and maybe if you're in it just for the money, there are better majors. Other thing to keep in mind, again, I've mentioned this a lot. The chemistry major is pretty difficult, and unless you really like science and you really like chem and you like knowing how to make fireballs and do cool things with elements, there are a lot easier pathways in college. But the chemistry major is really a labor of love. It will be super intense. There will be a lot of long hours, a lot of stress, a lot of studying. You just got to keep that in mind, that it feels really good once you're at the end of it. I can attest to that. And so there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And it's honestly been great knowing so much about science and knowing a lot about different areas of science from my time in the chemistry major. I honestly feel like I might have been a bit bored in any other major because the absolute breadth of knowledge you have to touch in the chemistry major, it's maybe a lot less focused than some other majors, but you do just have to learn a little bit of everything, and I absolutely love that, and I love how it grabs kind of stuff from lots of different sciences like physics and bio, etc. And one thing to tack on, make sure to plan your classes well. Scheduling is always a nightmare, apparently, and so you don't want your classes to already be stressful on top of the scheduling, so check your Rate My Professors, talk to other people in the major. Make sure you have a plan of attack because there are so many credits in the chemistry major. You can't just toss stuff on each semester. You really have to have it all laid out. So make sure you do plan that out. And of course, if you guys have any other questions about my experience as a chem major, be sure to let me know down in the comments. I might actually do a little chem major Q&A, so if you guys have a lot of questions, I might release a whole video about it, depending. And so I hope you guys got some fun information. Of course, this is just kind of an interactive video. Leave those comments asking questions. I'll try and answer them down below, and I'll see you guys next time.